Langchain Anthropic Chat Models Summary. Anthropic chat models are designed to be used with langchain, a framework for building applications that utilize language models. These models allow developers to easily incorporate advanced conversational AI capabilities into their projects. Inputs. A prompt is a text input that provides instructions or a question to the model, initiating a conversation or requesting specific information. For example, write a short story about a cat who can talk. Conversation history represents the previous interactions between the user and the model, allowing the model to maintain context and provide consistent responses. Imagine a conversation about a specific topic. The conversation history would store all previous questions and answers related to that topic. Outputs. The output of the Anthropic chat model is a response generated based on the provided input, typically in the form of natural language text. For instance, the response to the prompt "write a short story about a cat who can talk" might be a short story about a cat who can talk. Steps. Initialization involves setting up the Anthropic model and configuring its parameters for the specific task. This includes specifying the model version and loading the necessary libraries. Sending a prompt to the model involves passing the input text to the model, initiating the process of generating a response. The model receives the prompt and starts processing the text to understand the context and determine the appropriate response. Receiving the response involves retrieving the generated text from the model after it has processed the prompt. This step completes the interaction with the model, providing the final output for the user. Prerequisites. Anthropic Application Programming Interface API key is a unique identifier used to authenticate and authorize access to the Anthropic model. This key is required to use the model and is typically provided by Anthropic after registering for an account. Your API key is the actual key that you obtain from Anthropic, allowing you to use their models. Anthropic model refers to a specific language model provided by Anthropic, trained on a massive dataset of text and code. Claude 2 is a specific model offered by Anthropic, known for its advanced language understanding and generation capabilities. Fine-tune parameters. Temperature parameter controls the randomness of the model's responses, influencing the creativity and diversity of the generated text. A higher temperature leads to more diverse and unpredictable outputs, while a lower temperature produces more consistent and predictable responses. Max tokens parameter limits the number of tokens, words, or subwords the model can generate in its response. This helps to control the length of the output and prevent excessively long or rambling responses. Challenges and fixes. Rate limiting refers to restrictions imposed by Anthropic on the number of requests that can be made to the API within a specific time frame. Use retry on error involves automatically retrying failed requests after a short delay, allowing the application to continue functioning even if rate limits are temporarily exceeded. Model availability refers to the possibility that the chosen model might not be available at a particular time due to maintenance or other technical issues. Use fallback model allows specifying an alternative model to use if the primary model is unavailable, ensuring that the application can still function even if there are temporary disruptions. Context length limit refers to the maximum amount of text that the model can consider in a single request, typically measured in tokens. Use memory provides a mechanism for storing and retrieving past interactions with the model, allowing it to maintain context and provide more coherent responses even when the context length limit is exceeded. Langchain Anthropic Chat Models Summary. The langchain anthropic chat models summary outlines the process of integrating Anthropic's Claude models into applications for engaging chat-based interactions. This summary covers the essential inputs, outputs, steps involved, prerequisites, fine-tuning parameters, and challenges encountered when using Claude models for chat. Inputs. User prompts or questions represent the user's input that initiates the conversation with the Claude model. For example, a user could ask what is the capital of France, or summarize the plot of the movie The Matrix. Contextual information, which is optional, can provide background information or context relevant to the user's prompt. This additional information can help the model understand the user's intent and generate more relevant and accurate responses. For example, if a user asks what is the latest news about AI, providing the context AI in healthcare would allow the model to focus its response on AI developments within the healthcare industry. Outputs. Claude's generated responses are the model's output, presenting the information or answers derived from the user's prompts and any provided contextual information. For example, in response to the prompt "What is the capital of France?", Claude might generate the response Paris. Metadata about the response, such as the number of tokens used in the response or the time taken to generate the response, can provide insights into the model's performance. This metadata can be used for analysis and optimization. For example, knowing the number of tokens used can help estimate the cost of using the model for specific tasks. Steps. Initialize a Claude model using langchain involves setting up the connection to the Anthropic API and loading the desired Claude model. This step includes configuring the API key and any relevant settings for the model. For instance, you might choose a specific model variant like Claude 2 for your chat application. Pass user input to the model entails sending the user's prompts and any contextual information to the initialized Claude model. The model then processes this input to understand the intent and generate a response. This step involves formatting the user input into a format that the model can understand and transmitting it to the API. Receive and process the model's response involves retrieving the model's output from the Anthropic API and interpreting the response. This includes handling any metadata returned along with the response and potentially further processing the generated text based on the application's requirements. For example, you might want to format the response for display in a chat interface or extract key information from the response for further analysis. Prerequisites. Anthropic Application Programming Interface Key is required to access and interact with the Anthropic API. The API key serves as a unique identifier and authorization token for your application to communicate with the Claude models. It is essential for authenticating your requests and accessing the model's capabilities. You can obtain an API key from the Anthropic website by registering for an account and setting up a project. Anthropic API key is a placeholder for the actual API key, which should be replaced with your unique API key when configuring your application. LangChain installation. A powerful open-source library that simplifies working with language models is necessary to integrate Claude models into your application. LangChain provides tools for managing interactions with language models, connecting them to various data sources, and automating workflows. You can install LangChain using the pip package manager by running the command pip install LangChain in your terminal or command prompt. Fine-tune parameters. Temperature. A parameter that influences the creativity and randomness of the model's responses. Allows you to adjust the model's output. Higher temperature values encourage more diverse and surprising responses, while lower temperature values result in more predictable and focused responses. For example, setting a high temperature might lead to a more creative and humorous response to a user's prompt, while a low temperature might produce a more factual and informative response. Top K, a parameter that controls the number of possible output tokens considered for each word prediction, can impact the diversity and quality of the model's output. A higher value for top K allows the model to consider more options, potentially leading to more creative or unexpected responses. Conversely, a lower value for top K focuses the model's attention on a smaller set of tokens, resulting in more deterministic and potentially less diverse outputs. Top P, a parameter that determines the probability distribution of output tokens, can be used to control the model's output by limiting the likelihood of surprising or unexpected responses. A higher top P value allows for a wider range of possible tokens, while a lower top P value restricts the model's output to tokens with higher probabilities, potentially resulting in more predictable and consistent responses. Challenges and fixes. Rate limiting, a mechanism to prevent excessive requests to the anthropic API, can be encountered when using Claude models. To handle rate limits, implement back-off strategies. Back-off strategies involve waiting for a specific duration before retrying a request after encountering a rate limit. This approach helps to prevent exceeding the API's rate limits and ensures smooth operation. You can configure the back-off duration based on the severity of the rate limit and the API's rate limit policies. Context length limitations. A constraint imposed by Claude models on the amount of text that can be processed at once can pose challenges when dealing with lengthy conversations or large amounts of contextual information. Employ techniques like summarization or chunking to manage context size. Summarization involves condensing the context into a shorter form while preserving essential information, while chunking involves splitting the context into smaller pieces that fit within the model's limits. These techniques allow you to handle large amounts of context without exceeding the model's capacity. Model availability, which can be influenced by factors such as maintenance or updates to the anthropic API, requires careful monitoring. Monitor Anthropic's status and adjust code accordingly. This involves checking for any updates or announcements from Anthropic regarding model availability or potential issues. If there are any disruptions or changes, you should update your code to reflect the new status and ensure continued functionality. Langchain Anthropic Chat Models. Chat Anthropic Summary. Chat Anthropic is a langchain wrapper for Anthropic's Claude models. It allows for easy interaction with Claude models through langchain's framework. Inputs. Name of the Anthropic model to use. This parameter specifies which Anthropic model will be used for processing requests. Controls the randomness of the model's output. Higher values closer to 1 will produce more creative and diverse responses, while lower values closer to 0 will generate more predictable and consistent outputs. Maximum number of tokens to generate in response. This limits the length of the model's response to prevent excessively long outputs. Controls the diversity of the model's output. Higher values closer to 1 will allow the model to sample from a wider range of possible tokens, leading to more diverse responses. Lower values closer to 0 will focus on the most likely tokens, resulting in more predictable and focused outputs. Controls the diversity of the model's output. It operates in a similar way to top P. Higher values allow for a wider selection of tokens, leading to more diverse responses. while lower values prioritize more probable tokens, resulting in more focused and predictable outputs. Outputs. The model's response is a string. This represents the text generated by the anthropic model in response to a user's input or prompt. Steps. Initialize the chat anthropic class with the desired model name. This step sets up the connection to the selected anthropic model, enabling communication with the chosen model. Use the run method to send a prompt to the model and receive a response. This is where the user's input the prompt is sent to the model, and the model generates a response based on the input and its learned knowledge. Prerequisites. Application Programming Interface Key. This is a unique key that authenticates you and your application to access the Anthropic service. It is necessary to make requests to the Anthropic API. An Anthropic model, e.g. Claude 2. This refers to a specific language model developed and trained by Anthropic. You need to choose a model that suits your application's needs. Fine-tune parameters. Name of the Anthropic model to use. This allows you to specify which Anthropic model is used for processing requests. For example, you might choose a model specialized in code generation or a more general-purpose model depending on your application's requirements. Controls the randomness of the model's output. Higher values closer to 1 will produce more creative and diverse responses, while lower values closer to 0 will generate more predictable and consistent outputs. Fine-tuning this parameter allows you to tailor the model's responses to the desired level of creativity or consistency. Maximum number of tokens to generate in response. This parameter allows you to control the length of the model's response. You can adjust this value based on the complexity of your request and the desired length of pay. Output. Controls the diversity of the model's output. Higher values closer to 1 will allow the model to sample from a wider range of possible tokens, leading to more diverse responses. Lower values closer to 0 will focus on the most likely tokens, resulting in more predictable and focused outputs. By fine-tuning this parameter, you can achieve the desired balance between diversity and focus in the model's responses. Controls the diversity of the model's output. It operates in a similar way to top-P. Higher values allow for a wider selection of tokens, leading to more diverse responses, while lower values prioritize more probable tokens, resulting in more focused and predictable outputs. This parameter allows you to fine-tune the model's output to meet your specific requirements for diversity and predictability. Challenges and fixes. Application Programming Interface Key not set. This means that your application is not authorized to communicate with the Anthropic API. You need to ensure that your application programming interface key is correctly set and provided to the application. To fix this, set the Anthropic API key environment variable. Model not found. This indicates that the specified model name does not exist or is not available. Ensure that the model name is correct and the model is accessible. Verify the spelling of the model name and ensure it is a valid model offered by Anthropic. Rate limit exceeded. This happens when you make too many requests within a specific time frame. The Anthropic API has rate limits to ensure fair access for all users. To address this, wait for a few seconds and try again, allowing the rate limit to reset. Error during model invocation. This generally implies a problem occurred while attempting to communicate with the model or execute the request. Check the documentation provided by Anthropic for potential causes of the error and specific troubleshooting steps. Summary of langchain Anthropic chat models. Chat Anthropic messages. Interact with Anthropic's Claude models through the langchain library. Langchain is a powerful library for building applications with large language models. And Anthropic's Claude is a powerful and versatile large language model. This combination allows you to harness the power of Claude within your own applications. Inputs. Human input in the form of a string, which serves as the prompt for Claude. Claude will process this prompt and generate a response based on its understanding and training. Data. Optional parameters to configure the Claude model, providing you with control over how Claude behaves during the interaction. These parameters can include temperature controls the creativity of the response. A higher temperature means more creative and potentially less predictable responses. Max tokens limits the length of the response, allowing you to constrain the output length. Outputs. Claude's response in the form of a string, representing the output of the language model based on the provided prompt and any optional parameters. Steps. Initialize a chat Anthropic instance with your Anthropic Application Programming Interface API key. This API key is necessary to authenticate with the Anthropic API and access the Claude models. Obtain the key from Anthropic's website. Call the run method on the chat Anthropic instance, passing the human input string your prompt and any optional parameters to configure the Claude model. This method will send your request to Anthropic's API and retrieve the response from Claude. Prerequisites. An Anthropic Application Programming Interface API key, which is required to authenticate with the Anthropic API and access Claude models. You can obtain this API key from Anthropic's website. Installation of the LangChain library. This library provides the framework and tools for interacting with language models, including Claude. Install it using pip install langchain. Fine-tune parameters. Model name the name of the Claude model you want to use. This allows you to select the specific Claude model best suited for your application. Temperature, a parameter that controls the creativity of Claude's responses. A higher temperature means more creative and potentially less predictable responses. It allows you to fine-tune the balance between predictable and creative output. Max tokens limits the length of the response generated by Claude. This parameter allows you to control the size of the output. Challenges and fixes. Incorrect application programming interface API key, which can lead to authentication errors when attempting to access Claude models. Ensure that the API key is correct and that your account has the necessary permissions. Model not available, which means the specified Claude model may not be valid or accessible within your account. Check if the model name is correct and available in your account. Rate limits exceeded, indicating that you have exceeded the maximum number of requests allowed for your API key. To address this, you can reduce the number of requests you are making or consider using a higher tier API key with a higher request allowance. LangChain Anthropic Chat Anthropic Messages Summary. None. Human messages list. This input represents a list of strings that are prompts or questions to be sent to the Claude model. These are the messages from the human user that the model will process and respond to. For example, this list could contain questions like what is the capital of France? Or write a poem about a cat. Claude Assistant messages list. This input represents a list of strings that are responses generated by the Claude model. These are the messages from the Claude AI that the user receives as responses to their prompts. This list could contain responses like Paris or a poem about a cat. Formatted messages list. This output represents a list of dictionaries, with each dictionary containing the role and content of a message. The role key indicates whether the message is from the human user or the Claude assistant. And the content key contains the actual message text. This formatted output is then used by the LangChain component to send messages to the Claude model. Last response in model name dictionary. This output represents a dictionary containing the last response generated by Claude and the name of the Claude model used. This output provides access to the latest interaction with the model. Create chat anthropic messages object. This step involves creating a chat anthropic messages object using the input lists of human and assistant messages. This object will hold the messages and facilitate interaction with the Claude model. Format messages for Claude model. This step formats the messages from the input lists into a specific format required by the Claude model. This could involve adding metadata, structuring the messages, or encoding them in a particular way. Send formatted messages to Claude model. This step sends the formatted messages to the Claude model for processing. This is where the actual interaction with the anthropic API happens. Receive response from Claude model after sending the messages. This step receives the response generated by the Claude model. This response will be in the format specified by the anthropic API. Format response into desired output format. This step takes the response received from Claude and formats it into the desired output format. This could involve extracting relevant information, converting the response to a different data structure, or simply presenting the response in a user-friendly way. Anthropic API key. This refers to the API key needed to access and use the anthropic API, which is required for interacting with Claude. Obtaining an API key involves signing up for an Anthropic account and accessing your API key details through their website. Anthropic's Claude model. This refers to the Claude model provided by Anthropic, which is a powerful language model capable of generating text, translating languages, writing different kinds of creative content, and answering questions in an informative way. You can access this model through the Anthropic API using your API key. Model name. This parameter specifies the name of the Claude model to be used for interactions. It allows you to select from different Claude models that might have different strengths and capabilities. For example, you might choose a model that is specialized in generating creative text or one that is better at answering factual questions. Temperature. This parameter controls the randomness and creativity of the text generated by Claude. It ranges from 0 to 1, where 0 produces more predictable and deterministic outputs, while 1 generates more creative and unpredictable responses. A higher temperature allows for more exploration of different possibilities, while a lower temperature leads to more focused and coherent outputs. Incorrect formatting of messages. This challenge arises when the messages sent to the Claude model are not formatted correctly according to the API requirements. This can result in errors or unexpected behaviors from the model. Ensuring proper formatting is crucial for successful interactions. Invalid API key. This challenge occurs when an invalid or expired API key is used for accessing a Anthropic API. This prevents the langchain component from communicating with the Claude model, leading to errors or no response. A valid API key is essential for accessing the API and using its features. Rate limiting by Anthropic. This challenge arises when the rate limit for API calls is exceeded. Anthropic may impose limits on the number of requests that can be made within a certain time frame. To handle this, you can implement mechanisms like exponential backoff or retry mechanisms. Exponential backoff involves increasing the delay between requests progressively if an error occurs, while retry mechanisms allow for repeated attempts to send requests until they succeed. This helps to avoid exceeding the rate limits and ensures smooth interaction with the API. Langchain Anthropic Experimental. A comprehensive explanation of how to integrate Anthropic's Claude AI model with langchain. A powerful framework for building language-based applications. Inputs. the text or structured data that is fed into Claude, serving as the input for the AI model. This could be a question, a prompt, or a piece of structured information like a table or a graph. Outputs. The output generated by Claude in response to the provided input. This can be in the form of text, structured data, or a combination of both, depending on the task and the nature of the input. Steps. Setting up the initial connection between LangChain and the Anthropic application programming. Interface API by providing the necessary authentication credentials. These credentials ensure that LangChain can communicate with the Claude AI model and access its capabilities. Crafting a clear and informative prompt for Claude. Providing the necessary context for the AI model to understand the task at hand. This involves carefully designing the prompt to elicit the desired response from Claude and guide it towards the intended outcome. Transmitting the carefully constructed prompt to Claude using LangChain. Initiating the process of interaction with the AI model. LangChain acts as a bridge, facilitating the communication between your application and Claude. Receiving and interpreting the output produced by Claude. This involves extracting the relevant information from the response and processing it according to the specific needs of your application. Prerequisites. A unique code provided by Anthropic to access their application programming interface API and interact with the Claude AI model. This API key is essential for authentication and authorization. The LangChain library. A powerful Python framework designed for building and deploying language-based applications. It provides a comprehensive set of tools for working with language models, including Claude. Fine-tune parameters. The temperature parameter in Claude controls the creativity and randomness of the is output. A higher temperature value leads to more diverse and unexpected responses, while a lower value generates more predictable and consistent results. For example, if you are using Claude to generate creative writing, a higher temperature might be beneficial. However, if you need precise and factual responses for a technical task, a lower temperature would be more appropriate. The max tokens parameter determines the maximum number of tokens that Claude can generate in its response. Tokens are the basic building blocks of text, representing words, punctuation marks, and special characters. This parameter allows you to control the length of the generated response and prevent excessive output. For example, if you are asking Claude to summarize a long document, you might want to set a lower max token limit. On the other hand, if you need a detailed and extensive response, a higher max token limit would be more suitable. Challenges and fixes. Claude's API may have limitations on the number of requests that can be made within a specific time period. This can be a challenge when interacting with the AI model frequently. Implementing rate-limiting mechanisms is crucial for avoiding excessive requests and ensuring smooth operation. This involves carefully pacing requests to stay within the API's limits and avoiding potential issues like service disruptions. Claude may have limitations on the length of the prompts it can handle effectively. Excessively long prompts can lead to errors or inaccurate responses. Prompt engineering techniques are essential for crafting concise and informative prompts that convey the necessary context without exceeding the AI model's limitations. This involves carefully selecting the relevant information to include in the prompt and structuring it in a way that is easily understood by Claude. Claude's responses may have a structured format that needs to be properly understood and extracted for use in your application. Customizing LangChain's response parsing capabilities is necessary to effectively interpret and process Claude's structured output. This involves developing specific rules and methods for extracting, the relevant information from Claude's response and integrating it into your application's workflow. Langchain Anthropic chat models convert to Anthropic tool summary. This YAML document describes the process of converting a langchain Anthropic chat model into an Anthropic tool. It covers the necessary steps: inputs, outputs, prerequisites, fine-tuning parameters, and potential challenges and their fixes. Inputs. A langchain Anthropic chat model is a representation of a conversational AI model developed by Anthropic, which is designed for human-like interactions. It is typically used for tasks like generating text, translating languages, writing different kinds of creative content, and answering your questions in an informative way. Langchain provides a framework for interacting with this model within your Python applications. Outputs. An Anthropic tool is a specialized function that can be used within the Anthropic AI platform. It allows you to integrate external resources or functionalities into your AI interactions. For example, you could create a tool that performs calculations, fetches data from a database, or interacts with a specific API. Steps. The first step is to import the required libraries. This will ensure that you have access to the necessary functions and classes to interact with the Anthropic client and work with Langchain's Anthropic chat model. You might need libraries like Anthropic for accessing the Anthropic API and Langchain for interacting with Langchain's features. The second step is to initialize an Anthropic client. This involves setting up a connection to the Anthropic platform using your application programming interface API key. The API key is a unique identifier that allows your application to authenticate with the Anthropic service and access its features. Define the Anthropic tool. This step involves outlining the functionality of the tool, specifying its input parameters, and defining how it will be used in the Anthropic platform. For example, you might create a tool that takes a natural language query as input, translates it into a specific programming language, and then executes that code. Add the Anthropic tool to the Anthropic client. This step involves registering your tool with the client so that it becomes available for use within your AI interactions. This process might involve specifying the tool's name, description, and its associated functions. Prerequisites. An Anthropic API key is a security credential that allows your application to access and utilize the resources and functionality offered by the Anthropic platform. It acts as a password, authorizing your application to make requests to the Anthropic service. You will need to obtain an API key from the Anthropic platform to proceed with this conversion process. Fine-tune parameters. The model name is a unique identifier that distinguishes your Anthropic model from other models. It's used to reference the model during the process of creating and using Anthropic tools. For example, you might use a model name like translator to indicate the model's primary function. The model version signifies the specific iteration or revision of your Anthropic model. It helps manage updates or changes to the model's functionality or performance. Having a version number allows you to track which version of the model is being used for a particular tool or application. Challenges and fixes. During the process of importing libraries, you might encounter errors. This could be due to missing libraries, version conflicts, or incorrect installation paths. To fix this, ensure that you have installed all necessary libraries correctly and that their versions are compatible with the current environment. Error while initializing the Anthropic client might occur if your application programming interface API key is incorrect, the Anthropic server is unavailable, or there are issues with the network connection. Verify your API key and ensure you have a stable internet connection. You might encounter errors when defining an Anthropic tool, often due to incorrect tool definition or discrepancies between the tool's functionality and pay. Documentation provided by Anthropic. Review your tool definition and carefully check it against the Anthropic documentation for any potential errors or inconsistencies. When adding a tool to the Anthropic client, you might face errors if the tool name is already taken, the tool's configuration conflicts with the client's settings, or there are issues with the client's configuration. Review the tool name, ensure it is unique, and double-check the tool's configuration against the Anthropic client specifications. Langchain Anthropic Experimental Get System Message Summary. This is an explanation of how to generate a system message for Anthropic models using langchain. Inputs. A dictionary of key-value pairs for the application programming interface parameters that are specific to Anthropic models. A string that represents a user prompt or question that will be used to generate the system message. Outputs. A system message for the Anthropic model that is generated based on the given inputs. Steps. Retrieving the model name and temperature values from the LLM Quarks dictionary, which contains the Anthropic model-specific parameters. Adding a prefix to the system message that is specific to Anthropic models. This prefix typically includes information about the model's purpose and capabilities. Appending the user prompt to the system message. The prompt provides context and information about the task that the Anthropic model needs to complete. Adding a suffix to the system message that is also specific to Anthropic models. The suffix often includes instructions on how to format the response. Prerequisites. The LLM Quarks dictionary should contain the Anthropic model-specific parameters. Specifically, the name of the Anthropic model to be used for generation, such as Claude 2, the temperature parameter, which controls the randomness of the model's response. Fine-tune parameters. The model name and the temperature parameter can be fine-tuned to adjust the behavior of pay. Anthropic model and produce different responses. Challenges and fixes. If no system message is generated, verify that the LLM Quarks dictionary is not empty and contains the required parameters. To ensure the system message is in the correct format, double-check that the model name and temperature values are correctly specified in the LLM Quarks dictionary. Langchain Anthropic Experimental Get System Message. This document provides a detailed description of the langchain Anthropic Experimental Get System message function. This function is designed to assist users in crafting system messages for Anthropic's Claude language model, a sophisticated AI capable of generating human-like text. Inputs. Model name represents the name of the specific Claude model to be utilized in the interaction. For example, Claude 2 indicates the use of the Claude 2 model. Temperature. This parameter controls the level of randomness in the text generated by the model. Higher temperature values result in more creative and unpredictable outputs, while lower values produce more predictable and consistent responses. Outputs. System message. This output provides a string representing the system message. A system message serves as a set of instructions or guidelines for the language model, defining the context and desired behavior for the interaction. Steps. Retrieve model name and temperature. The function begins by retrieving the model name and temperature values from the provided input parameters. This information is crucial for tailoring the system message to the chosen model and desired level of creativity. Generate system message based on the model name and temperature. The function generates a system message that is specifically tailored to the model and the desired level of creativity. The system message is constructed to provide clear and concise instructions to the language model, ensuring that it understands the intended task and context. Prerequisites. Anthropic API key. An application programming interface API key is required to access the Anthropic API. This key provides authentication and authorization for interacting with the Anthropic service. Your Anthropic API key should be replaced with your own unique key. Langchain. The Langchain Python library is a fundamental prerequisite for utilizing this function. Langchain offers a robust framework for interacting with language models, simplifying the process of building and managing AI applications. Install Langchain library should be replaced with the specific instructions for installing the Langchain library. Fine-tune parameters. Model name to ensure optimal performance and tailor the interaction to specific needs. Users can customize the model name by selecting a particular Anthropic model. Users can leverage its unique capabilities and strengths for their applications. Temperature. Adjusting the temperature value allows users to fine-tune the level of randomness in the generated text. Higher temperatures introduce more unpredictability and creativity, while lower temperatures promote consistency and predictability. Challenges and fixes. Challenge 1. Constructing a system message that effectively balances informativeness with conciseness can be challenging. Fixes to challenge 1. Clarity and conciseness are crucial in system messages. Using clear and precise language, avoiding unnecessary details, and focusing on providing only essential instructions can help address this challenge. Challenge 2. Generating a system message that is appropriately aligned with the task at hand. Avoiding being too general or too specific can be a challenge. Fixes to challenge 2. Tailoring the system message to the specific task is critical for successful interaction. By providing relevant context and instructions that are tailored to the task, users can ensure that the language model understands the desired outcome and executes the task accurately. Langchain Anthropic LLMS. Anthropic, a wrapper for Anthropic's Claude models, built using the Langchain framework, designed to make interactions with these models easier and more robust within various applications. Inputs. Model name. The name of the Claude model to use, which can be either Claude 2 or Claude Instant 1, representing the specific version of the Anthropic language model. For instance, Claude 2 represents a more powerful model, while Claude Instant 1 is designed for faster responses. Temperature. A numeric value ranging from 0 to 1 that determines the level of randomness in the generated text. A higher temperature value introduces more unpredictable and creative variations in the output, while a lower value yields more consistent and predictable responses. Consider a value of 0.7 for more diverse outputs and 0.3 for more focused results. Top P. The probability threshold for selecting a token from the top P most likely tokens. This parameter controls the diversity of the output by selecting tokens from a predefined probability distribution of the most likely tokens. A lower value of top P focuses on more probable tokens, while a higher value introduces more diverse and potentially less predictable tokens. For example, a top P of 0.9 would consider tokens with probabilities summing up to 90, while a top P of 0.5 would consider tokens with probabilities summing up to 50. Top K. The number of tokens to consider when choosing the next token to generate. This parameter limits the selection of the next token to a specific number of the most probable tokens, potentially influencing the output's coherence and predictability. For example, a top K of 10 would consider only the top 10 most probable tokens, while a top K of 50 would consider 50 most probable tokens. Max tokens, the maximum number of tokens that the model can generate in a single response. This parameter helps control the length of the generated output, limiting the response to a predefined maximum token count. For example, setting max tokens to 100 would limit the response to a maximum of 100 tokens. Stop a sequence or a list of sequences that will stop the model from generating further tokens. This parameter enables you to control the end of the generated text by specifying specific sequences that, when encountered, signal the termination of the generation process. For instance, setting stop to would stop the generation once is encountered in the generated text. Stream, a Boolean value indicating whether the model's response should be streamed. Streaming allows for receiving responses incrementally as they are generated, rather than waiting for the entire response to be finished. This feature is particularly useful for long responses or applications that require real-time updates. Outputs. Generated text. The text generated by the anthropic Claude model, based on the specified parameters and input prompts. This output contains the final text produced by the model after processing the input and applying the specified parameters. Steps. Model initialization, the process of setting up and configuring the anthropic Claude model, using the specified parameters such as model name, temperature, top P, top K, max tokens, stop, and stream. This step involves selecting the desired Claude model version and setting the required parameters to control the model's behavior during text generation. Text generation, the actual process of generating text using the initialized anthropic Claude model, based on the provided input prompt and the configured parameters. The model uses its internal mechanisms and the specified settings to produce the generated text. Text return, the final step involves returning the generated text to the user or the calling application. This step concludes the interaction with the anthropic Claude model, delivering the generated output for further use or processing. Prerequisites. Anthropic Application Programming Interface Key, a unique identifier provided by Anthropic for accessing their application programming interface API, allowing users to interact with the Anthropic Claude models programmatically. This key is essential for making requests to the API and retrieving responses. Your Anthropic API key. Anthropic API Client Library, a software library designed for interacting with the Anthropic API, providing a convenient interface for making requests, receiving responses, and managing interactions with the Anthropic models. Install the library using pip install anthropic. Fine-tune parameters. Model name. This parameter allows fine-tuning the model selection, choosing between the available Claude models Claude 2 or Claude Instant 1, based on the specific requirements of the application or the desired balance between performance and response time. Temperature fine-tuning. The temperature parameter adjusts the level of randomness in the generated text, enabling users to control the output's creativity and predictability. Higher temperatures lead to more diverse and potentially unexpected outputs, while lower temperatures produce more consistent and predictable results. Top P. This parameter allows fine-tuning the probability threshold for token selection, influencing the diversity and randomness of the generated text. A lower value of top P focuses on more probable tokens, leading to a more predictable output, while a higher value allows for a wider range of less predictable tokens. Top K. The parameter allows fine-tuning the number of tokens considered during token selection, influencing the output's diversity and predictability. Lower values focus on a limited number of the most probable tokens, leading to a more predictable output, while higher values consider a larger range of tokens. potentially introducing more diverse and less predictable outputs. Max tokens. This parameter allows fine-tuning the maximum length of the generated text, controlling the number of tokens produced by the model. Setting a lower value limits the response length, while a higher value allows for longer outputs. Stop. This parameter allows fine-tuning the termination condition for the text generation process. By specifying specific sequences or lists of sequences, users can control the point at which the model stops generating tokens, ensuring that the output adheres to specific formatting or content requirements. Challenges and fixes. Rate limiting. This challenge occurs when the rate of requests to the API exceeds the allowed limit, potentially resulting in throttling or temporary blockages. Use the stream parameter to stream the response and avoid rate limiting by enabling streaming. The response is received incrementally as it is generated, reducing the overall load on the API and mitigating the risk of rate limiting. Model availability. This challenge arises when the desired Claude model is unavailable due to maintenance, upgrades, or other unforeseen circumstances. Use the model parameter to specify the available model. By explicitly specifying the available model, the application can adapt to the current availability and use a different model if the desired model is unavailable, ensuring continued functionality and avoiding potential errors. Langchain Anthropic LLM integration. Integrating Anthropic large language models (LLMs) into the langchain framework to enable seamless interaction with various downstream applications, such as chatbots, question answering systems, and content generation tools. Inputs. Textual prompts that provide instructions or questions for the LLM to process, enabling it to generate responses, complete tasks, or engage in conversations. For example, a prompt could be summarize the following article or write a poem about a cat. Contextual information that is relevant to the prompt, providing additional background or data to enhance the accuracy and relevance of the generated response. This could include text, code, or other relevant data. For instance, when summarizing an article, the full article text could be provided as context. Outputs. Textual outputs, which can encompass a wide range of content, including code, translations, summaries, and creative writing. For example, the output could be a summary of the article, a translated version of a text, or a computer program. Structured data in formats such as JSON, JavaScript object notation, or YAML YAML ain't markup language that can be easily processed by downstream applications. For instance, the output could be a JSON representation of a structured database or a YAML configuration file. Steps. Initialization of a LangChain-compatible Anthropic LLM object, which establishes a connection to the Anthropic Application Programming Interface API and configures the desired LLM model. Passing the textual prompt and contextual information to the initialized LLM object for processing. This step involves sending the prompt and context to the Anthropic API. Retrieval of the generated response from the LLM. The Anthropic API returns the generated response, which is then processed by the LangChain framework. Post-processing of the response, which may include formatting, extracting relevant information, or further manipulation of the output. For example, the output may need to be formatted for display in a specific application or converted to a different data format. Prerequisites. Anthropic Application Programming Interface API key, which is an access token required for interacting with the Anthropic API. The API key is typically obtained from the Anthropic website. LangChain Library Installation. Langchain is a Python library that simplifies integration with LLMs, including anthropic models. The library can be installed using the pip package manager, a command-line tool for installing and managing Python packages. Fine-tune parameters. Model selection, choosing from the available anthropic models based on the specific requirements of the task. Different models have different strengths and weaknesses, so it is important to select a model that is suitable for the intended use case. For example, some models may be better suited for generating creative text, while others may be more adept at summarizing factual information. Temperature, adjusting the randomness of the generated response. A higher temperature value results in more creative and diverse outputs, while a lower temperature value produces more predictable and deterministic responses. Max tokens, limiting the maximum length of the generated response in terms of tokens. A token is a basic unit of text, typically corresponding to a word or a part of a word. Setting a limit on the number of tokens can help to control the length of the generated response and prevent excessive output. Challenges and fixes. Rate limiting, encountering application programming interface API rate limits during frequent requests, which can occur when making many requests to the anthropic API in a short period of time. Rate limiting is a mechanism used by APIs to prevent abuse and ensure fair access for all users. Handling rate limiting with exponential backoff, which involves gradually increasing the time between requests until the API rate limit is lifted. Another approach is to implement a request queue, which manages requests in a more controlled manner, ensuring that requests are not made too frequently. Context length limitations, encountering limitations on the amount of context that some large language models LLMs can process. This means that some LLMs may not be able to handle large amounts of input text. Employing techniques such as summarization to reduce the amount of context, chunking the context into smaller segments, or using a separate context retrieval component to provide relevant information to the LLM. Langchain Anthropic LLM Summary. NaN. Anthropic LLM is a langchain wrapper for Anthropic's Claude application programming interface. It simplifies the interaction with Claude by providing a user-friendly interface within the langchain framework. Inputs. Text prompt, a natural language question or instruction that serves as the input for the Claude model. For example, what is the capital of France? Or write a short story about a cat who can talk. Model name, the name of the Claude model to be used. The specific model chosen will determine the capabilities and limitations of the generated response. For example, Claude 1, Claude 2, etc. Outputs. Text response, the generated output from the Claude model in response to the provided prompt. The response will be a text string containing the generated answer, story, or other relevant information. Steps. Initialize Anthropic LLM object. This step creates an instance of the Anthropic LLM class, which provides the necessary interface to interact with the Claude application programming interface. Call the generate method. This step invokes the generate method of the Anthropic LLM object, passing the text prompt and the chosen model name as arguments. This initiates the process of sending the prompt to Claude and retrieving the generated response. Prerequisites. Anthropic Application Programming Interface Key, a unique key that is required for authenticating requests to the Claude Application Programming Interface. It is used to verify your identity and ensure you have the necessary permissions to access the service. Obtain from Anthropic website. You can obtain an Anthropic Application Programming Interface key by signing up for an account on the Anthropic website. The key is provided after successful registration and will grant you access to the Claude application programming interface for specific usage limitations. Installation of Anthropic library. The Anthropic library is a Python library that provides the necessary tools for interacting with the Claude application programming interface. This library is essential for using the Anthropic LLM class and other related functions within LangChain. Pip install Anthropic. You can install the Anthropic library using the pip package manager. This command downloads and installs the library from the Python package index pypi, making it available for use in your Python projects. Fine-tune parameters. Temperature, a parameter that controls the randomness of the generated response. A higher temperature value leads to more creative and unpredictable outputs, while a lower temperature value produces more deterministic and conservative responses. A value closer to 1 will produce more diverse responses, while closer to 0 will produce more deterministic responses. Max tokens, a parameter that limits the maximum number of tokens in the generated response. This parameter is useful for controlling the length of the generated text and preventing overly verbose outputs. Challenges and fixes. Rate limiting issues. These issues arise when the rate of requests to the Claude application programming interface exceeds the allowed limit, resulting in temporary blocks or errors. Implement exponential backoff, a strategy to handle rate limiting issues by gradually increasing the delay between requests after an error occurs. This allows the system to recover from overload and avoid further errors. This is a technique used to manage rate limiting issues and allow for a graceful recovery. Handling errors. Errors can occur during the interaction with the Claude application programming interface, such as network issues, invalid input, or service outages. Catch and handle exceptions. It's crucial to implement error handling mechanisms to gracefully manage unexpected situations. By catching and handling exceptions, the application can identify and respond appropriately to errors, providing a more robust and resilient experience. This approach helps to prevent application crashes and allows for more graceful error handling. LangChain Anthropic Output Parsers Summary. This YAML represents the capabilities and considerations for using LangChain's Anthropic output parsers, which are designed to extract structured data from responses generated by Anthropic models. Parses responses generated by Anthropic models to extract structured data. These parsers are crucial for transforming unstructured text into usable data formats, making it easier to work with the information extracted from Anthropic models. For example, if an Anthropic model provides a list of products with their prices and availability, the output parser can extract this information and store it in a structured format like a table or JSON object. Inputs. The output generated by an Anthropic model. This output can be in various formats, including plain text, JSON, or other structured formats. For example, an Anthropic model might generate a response about a historical event, including details like the date, location, and key figures involved. This response would be the input for the output parser. Outputs. Structured data in a desired format. This can include formats like JSON, CSV, or Python dictionaries, depending on the specific needs of the application. For example, the output parser can convert the textual response about a historical event into a JSON object with key value pairs representing the date, location, and key figures involved. Steps. The parser first identifies and extracts relevant information from the Anthropic model output. This step involves analyzing the output text and identifying key pieces of information that need to be extracted. This could involve recognizing specific keywords, patterns, or structures within the text. Once the relevant information is extracted, the parser transforms it into the desired structured format. This step might involve converting text into numerical values, formatting dates, or organizing information into specific data structures like lists or tables. Prerequisites: the anthropic model being used should have the capability to generate structured output. This means the model should be trained to produce responses that contain identifiable key value, pairs, or other structured information. For example, a model designed to generate summaries of news articles should be trained to output summaries in a consistent format, including key details like the article's title, publication date, and main points. Fine-tune parameters: the parser can be fine-tuned using configuration parameters to tailor its behavior and output format. This can include specifying the desired output format, defining specific keywords or patterns to extract, or customizing the way information is transformed. For example, you might fine-tune the parser to extract specific types of information from an anthropic model, such as only extracting dates or only extracting names of people. Challenges and fixes: ambiguous or inconsistent output formatting can pose a challenge for the parser. Anthropic models might generate outputs with varying structures or formats, making it difficult for the parser to consistently identify and extract information. To address this, the parser's logic can be improved to handle different variations in output formatting. This might involve implementing more flexible parsing rules, recognizing alternative formats, or utilizing natural language processing techniques to identify and interpret ambiguous text. Missing or incomplete information can also present a challenge. Anthropic models might not always provide all the required information in their responses, leading to incomplete or inaccurate data extraction. One approach to handle missing information is to use default values or fallback mechanisms. For example, if a field like price is missing from the output, the parser could use a default value of now or attempt to extract the price from other parts of pay. Response: Langchain Anthropic Chat Models. Chat Anthropic Summary. Langchain Anthropic Chat Models integration provides an interface to interact with Anthropic's Claude models. This integration allows users to leverage the capabilities of Claude, a powerful large language model, within their langchain applications. Inputs: model name. This refers to the specific Claude model you intend to use. Anthropic offers various models, each with distinct capabilities and performance characteristics, such as Claude Instant 1.0, Claude 2.0, and Claude 2.1. API key: this is a unique identifier that authenticates your access to the Anthropic API. You obtain this key by registering with the Anthropic platform. Outputs: response. This represents the output generated by the Claude model in response to your request. The response format can vary depending on the specific task and model, but it typically includes text, code, or other relevant data. Steps: initialize Chat Anthropic object. This involves creating an instance of the Chat Anthropic class. This class is a wrapper provided by LangChain to facilitate communication with the Anthropic API. Call run method. This step triggers the execution of the Claude model, sending your prompt or input to the model and receiving the generated response. Prerequisites: Anthropic API key. This refers to the unique identifier obtained from the Anthropic platform to authenticate your access to the API. You'll need to provide a valid API key to interact with the Anthropic services. For example, you can obtain an API key by signing up on the Anthropic website. Anthropic model. This indicates the specific Claude model you'll be interacting with. Anthropic offers various models with distinct capabilities and performance levels. For instance, Claude Instant 1.0, Claude 2.0, and Claude 2.1 are popular choices. Fine-tune parameters. Temperature. This parameter influences the creativity and randomness of the Claude model's responses. Higher temperature values tend to produce more diverse and unpredictable outputs, while lower values generate more predictable and consistent responses. Max tokens. This parameter controls the maximum number of tokens the Claude model is allowed to generate in a single response. Tokens are the basic units of text representation used by language models. Adjusting the max tokens value affects the length and detail of the generated response. Challenges and fixes. API key issue. This problem arises when the provided API key is invalid or incorrect. To resolve this, ensure that you have a valid API key from the Anthropic website and have entered it correctly. Model not found. This error occurs when the specified model name does not correspond to an available Claude model. Ensure that the model name you provide aligns with a valid Anthropic model, such as Claude Instant 1.0, Claude 2.0, or Claude 2.1.